Village of Wheeling special meeting is now called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Trustee Brady? Here. Trustee Hein? Here. Trustee Argyris? Here. Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Here?
Here.
President Abascado?
Here. Have approval of the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Trustee Brady, second by Trustee Argyris. Roll call, please.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Argyris?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Abstain.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
Yes.
President Abascado?
Yes. Mr. Fondilis, any changes to the agenda?
No, Madam President.
Being no changes to the agenda. Proclamations.
Village of Wheeling congratulating Hoyne Savings Bank on its 125th anniversary. Hoyne Savings Bank was founded in Chicago, Illinois in 1887. For the past 125 years, Hoyne Savings Bank has played a significant role in the economic development of Northern Illinois. Hoyne Savings Bank continues to serve the residents and businesses of Wheeling, as well as those throughout Chicagoland, by maintaining its long-standing emphasis on customer relationships, prudent lending, and active local engagement. Hoyne Savings Bank has distinguished itself as a good community citizen and has demonstrated a commitment to making a positive difference in the areas where it operates and for the clients who entrust it with their financial futures. The Village of Wheeling is fortunate to count Hoyne Savings Bank among the exemplary stakeholders in the Wheeling community. Judy Abascado, President of the Village of Wheeling, do hereby proclaim congratulations to Hoyne Savings Bank on the occasion of its 125th anniversary and calls upon the citizens of Wheeling to join her in recognizing its significant contributions to our community.
Mr. Peppenbrink, Mr. Wyman, it's a pleasure. Being my two Rotarian friends and my banker friends for many years, we thank you for all that you do for the village. We thank you also for always being there when we have the 4th of July or activities. So thank you, and may you have another 125 years. Admission of oaths today. Do we have our Sandra here today?
Oh, okay. Okay, raise your right hand. I, Sandra Aristodemo, having been appointed to the Board of Health in the Village of Wheeling, the counties of Cook and Lake, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Office of Board of Health Commissioner according to the best of my ability. Thank you.
And thank you very much for applying and going to be on the Board of Health. As you know, that as residents come and help us, that's how we make this village grow as our one family. So thank you again, Sandra. Citizens' concerns and comments?
Members of the general public may address the board with concerns or comments regarding relevant issues. The person submitting a petition, concern, or other comment shall be allotted 5 minutes to present their points. Mr. Heber.
Mr. Heber.
Thank you, Madam President, Village Board. A couple of things I wanted to talk about. One is I want to thank the people who came to the Wheeling Blood Drive. It wasn't a huge success, but it was a success. And there was a little confusion in the building to begin with. and I apologize for that. And I think Beverly has done a great job in organizing these blood drives. I thank you. Secondly, WCPAA. I'd like to thank John Fondelis, our village manager, President Abiscato, for coming to our last meeting. I learned a lot about John. I never knew him before. I knew him running around the village in a truck, and that was it. But he's a well-educated person. I think he's doing a great job.
Thank you.
As for the WCPAA, we are holding, what that stands for is the Wheeling Citizen Police Academy Alumni Association. What we do is get for the police department that's not in the village budget. We are a nonprofit organization. Well, I joined in, I believe it was 1997 when I became a member. And I've been fairly active right along. But anyway, we're holding a fundraiser at Golden Chef, August 5th, from 4 to 7 p.m. Now, if anybody's ever eaten at Golden Chef, you're missing a great dinner because they have good food. I'll vouch for that. And this is a buffet. So it's an all-you-can-eat buffet for $12. The time is from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. The tickets will be purchased at the door. And I hope to see a lot of my friends there. I thank you very much. I thank the village board for giving me the opportunity to talk.
Thank you, George. We look forward to you every week. Thank you.
Hey, look at this. You know that is,
Staff reports, Manager Fondelis.
Thank you, Madam President. Following up on what Public Works Director Stavros had mentioned last week, the Canadian National Railway Company is officially planning to replace the railroad crossing on Dundee Road between Wheeling Road and Northgate Parkway. The construction will necessitate the closing of Dundee Road at the crossing. Currently, the closure schedule is from August 3rd through August 10th. Detour signs have been placed at strategic locations to route traffic around this area by utilizing nearby main routes. I also wanted to add that we discussed this morning, and both chiefs have already created their plan of preparedness to address our residents on the west side for emergency purposes through either mutual aid or dispatch notification. So police and fire are well aware and prepared for this closure of our major thoroughfare.
Could I ask a question about this project? Just simple. What are they planning to do this time that is different from the last?
Tony, can you
years ago?
give some detail that I can't?
That will be better.
well, I can't guarantee it's going to be any better, but it's supposed to be a total reconstruct of the pads, the crossing, the pads will be removed.
To make them soft.
And I'm assuming that they're going to lay a new concrete base under the pad and put the pads back down. Such as they did on Hints Road, like a couple of years ago. I mean,
Nothing different where
Just going to be
just
smoother.
maintenance?
Yeah, last time, though, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, it was not a complete reconstruct at Dundee. It was a what we would call resurfacing compared to a street. So this is a full reconstruct.
supposed to be,
Okay.
our understanding.
Thank you.
I got a question, John. When's this master plan on getting around town going to be public?
Well, the detour sign, the notification signs are up now, and detour signs are going up. Is that your question?
But where are we detouring to? Because
The only thing we-
Palatine Road shut down, and now Dundee Road shut down. It's a nightmare,
Hints and Lake Cook are the only opportunities.
which is going to be another nightmare.
It's going to be a very difficult week to get around.
But to
with.
have all that traffic going westbound on Palatine Road, getting off at Wolf Road with the signalization being the same is wrong. I'll tell you right now, Friday night, 9:30, it took me 55 minutes to go a quarter of a mile on Palatine Road, and I was stranded. I couldn't get off of Palatine Road. That's at 9:30 on a Friday night. Can you imagine what it's going to be with Dundee Road closed during rush hour? You think Hints Road's going to be the answer, or Lake Cook? Guys, I got news for you. We're going to bottleneck this town for 8 days. It's going to be a nightmare. It's a nightmare now. So I'm dying to see what game plan you guys are coming up with.
Well, there's not much game plan that we can come up with other than those two. I mean, this is not a Village of Wheeling project, so all we can do is kind of pick up the pieces from what we've been given. But we're doing that, and like I said, as far as the things we can control, our emergency response for the west side of town.
I understand, but maybe you can look at signalization or something to move traffic, or do something. Look at that signalization on Wolf Road. It's terrible. Because you got everything going westbound going on Wolf Road, off the off-ramp. It's terrible.
Okay.
Please. For the sake of everybody.
Do we have any more questions? The Director of Human Services, Director Herzog.
Good evening. The Senior Center is participating with the Wheeling Township with their annual school supply drive beginning today. If residents would like to drop off school supplies, we will deliver them to the Wheeling Township. The collection will be until August 17th. They're looking for backpacks, crayons, markers, loose leaf paper, pencils, things like that. These supplies are for low-income families in Wheeling Township. And if you have any questions, you can either call the township at 847-259-7730 or the Human Services Department at 847-459-2606.
Thank you. We have nothing on the consent agenda. We have no old business.
13, new business, all listed items for discussion and possible action. 13A, resolution approving concept plan submitted by Urban R2 LLC for Wicks redevelopment site in the Town Center Tax Increment Financing District.
Mr. Van Bottelis.
Thank you. Tonight you'll hear a presentation from Urban R2, currently is the developer of record for 351 West Dundee Road, the Wicks property. The developer was last before the board in March and was granted an additional 4-month extension to recraft their plan in response to interest from a movie theater group to create a standalone pad or building site for the theater. They're given until July 31st to revise their plan, submit same to the village in addition to an amended TIF application. The presentation tonight regards the site plan, and Mr. Friedman and his team will be here to talk about that and answer any questions. Assuming that the board is supportive of this revised site plan, the next step would be to vet the financials and come back to the board in a more detailed discussion about the appropriateness and the structure of a TIF incentive in the form of a term sheet. So for tonight, the discussion is on the site plan, and the developer is here to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions? Trustee Lane.
Are you going to give a presentation first?
I would be more than happy to walk you through the site plan and show you a couple of elevations that we've put together.
I would like that.
Questions afterwards, then, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I thought, but I know you wanted some questions tonight.
As most of you are well aware, we've been working on the site plan and we've made modifications to the site plan in order to accommodate the economics and the environment that we have right now. We've done a lot of work to put together a plan that will create a town center, a gathering place, and provide you with a village greenway. That we see as the focal point of this plan here. Very pedestrian friendly village greenway, which has a 30,000 square foot theater anchoring the site. Surrounding the village greenway, we have retail buildings around 5,000 square feet. There's a lot of flexibility in the plan, and there's additional retail leading up to the greenway here. This is more of a traditional retail component where the retail storefronts would be facing out to Dundee with parking out in front. We do have some outlots here. We have expressed interest from some smaller tenants that we could work with a drive-through. We also took the residential component and we have separated it. Right here in the back portion is the residential component. This is a design by RTKL. It is reflective of what's referred to as a Texas wrap, very productive, efficient residential component. It's low-story, multifamily apartment building that would feature a common area amenity space with greenway and pool activities, and this parking structure would be built to accommodate the residents. As you can see, there's plenty of parking. I think our ratio is 7 to 1. We've also put in parking in this area for Metro riders, and of course Metro riders will be able to park all along this area as well. I believe you've seen this rendering before, but the idea is that we want to create a public gathering place surrounded by retail, again with the theater as the focal point and the draw. And the idea is that we can have public events, art fairs, and farmers markets and other types of festivals here. RTKL has taken the residential building to the next level, and they have started to demise the units, the unit count, the square footage, and the breakdown of all the units. And we've put together a very detailed financial summary that encompasses updated market studies and rents per square foot. This is a 3D rendering which gives you maybe a little bit better of an idea. This here is Dundee Road. This is Northgate Parkway, where we are changing Northgate Parkway to lead up to, again, the Village Greenway. All these are single-story retail buildings, although there will be an option to go 2 stories if the market demands for office or loft space above. This would be the theater at the anchor, and this here is the residential building. And we like that the residential building is at the southern end. It allows a lot of the units to look out onto the what will be the new Heritage Park. This is just another rendering to give you another view here, looking northbound with the residential building there. These are some elevations that were put together. This is an elevation of the residential building, obviously just one side, but it gives you an idea from a dimensional standpoint. Here are some elevations of the retail buildings that were created. Here's an elevation of the movie theater. And now we're back to the plan. I'm happy to address any questions that you have.
Thank you. Trustee Lang.
Thank you. That last picture you just showed of the Alamo, the front of it, is that facing out towards the boulevard?
This here is the movie theater.
Yes.
And this would be facing out onto the Greenway.
Okay, Greenway.
Right. Okay. So when you say boulevard, I'm not quite.
That's what I meant.
Yep. Yeah, it's a pedestrian-friendly greenway. There's actually no roadway here, so the way that the traffic moves is traffic comes in off Northgate Parkway. You can either go up into this parking lot, you could travel down here into this parking lot, you can go over, into different quadrants, I guess I would classify it as. We also will be seeking to get an easement off Community Boulevard right here. So if people want to come in off the Dundee and Community Boulevard to connect into, this would be an extension actually of Community Boulevard, this right here. This would become a public roadway. It would be an extension of Community Boulevard right there.
Well, I think as much connectivity you can get to the whole complex, this whole complex, and the park would really be welcome. I know you have some tweaking to do on this as well. This is the overall big picture concept, but just one of the things that I first saw with it that kind of disappointed me, although in seeing your elevations it looks a little bit better, is that there was a grand boulevard, and original talk was right to the train station and sort of connecting Community Boulevard right to the train. And that seemed to have disappeared. Now the train is...
If you recall, we've gone through a number of reiterations here, and one of the issues is that we wanted to make sure that this side, the east side of the tracks, was able to eventually connect to the west side of the tracks, because obviously that is part of the master plan concept. In our talks with the village staff, there is intention to eventually take the west side of the tracks and encompass it into the master plan concept. Our plan does incorporate for that next phase, whenever it may come, to have more of a for-sale townhome concept, maybe some medical office, senior living, and additional retail if that is what's required. But we see the west side of the tracks over here having a lot of like a for-sale townhome component. We want to make sure that it is connects to the east side. And the response from Metra was that they would not be granting a at-grade crossing. And what we did is we did make some changes to the plan to incorporate a slight slope, which would start right here. And the site would be graded, so at a future time, if there were funds that became available to do an underpass, that would help with the connectivity.
Well, it's also good to see that you're not abandoning the west side of the tracks as well. From this plan, it looks like it's just out of the picture.
We're not showing the west side here because we're not, designated developer of record for that land yet, although we did take it into consideration in our master plan concept.
Well, the Alamo portion of it, extremely pleased with it. That looks like a first-class operation. How do you look at this whole project as a going bigger, heavier on entertainment, restaurants, and so on, as opposed to retail?
Well, the retail environment is ever changing. We've had a lot of interest from some very unique individuals who have expressed some ideas, and they've met with John Spondilis, and everyone seems to be on board with some of these other entertainment components that could possibly come in and be part of the center. And we are obviously open to that. We just need to figure out the structure of those other elements and how they would come together. With regards to the other retailers filling in, the feedback that we have from our retail leasing specialist who is joining us here tonight, Wayne Kaplan, is that once the lease is fully executed with the theater and they see some progress being made, they are very much interested in being a part of this development and being a part of the Village Greenway and adjacent to the theater to draw off of that business. I think the biggest challenge was getting an entertainment anchor, and we've achieved that, and we're very happy.
Okay. And first steps with this whole project would be?
First steps with this project are going to be actually working out the financial aspects, working with village staff on how to arrange for the TIF. The TIF dollars are really to cover the infrastructure, the roadways, all civil engineering requirements, sidewalks, landscaping, lighting, whatnot, sanitation, sewer. Once we have these, buildable ready pads, then the first step is going to be to get to work on the residential building. We have interested equity partners and debt providers, but until the land is fully entitled, there's no way to move forward with the financing. So our first step is going to be to focus on the residential building. Again, one of the reasons why we separated the residential, if you remember way back, we had a mixed-use component. We had a residential component on the ground floor with parking above. We had a retail component on the ground floor with parking above and then residential units above that. And we figured that if we could separate it out, we could obtain financing and we could build this in phases and it would be much more feasible.
And last question, timeline, or rough timeline?
Timeline is to go through the preliminary and final PUD process within the next for months, get approval, and then break ground with regards to the infrastructure, which would be, I think, late spring, and then actually it would be, right around springtime, excuse me, and then shortly thereafter to break ground on the residential component. Once we are well underway with the residential component, we actually structured the theater deal so it would be a reverse build to suit. And then the theater would start construction, and then we would fill in the other retail components.
If I can add to that answer, that of course is assuming that tonight the board gives us direction, approves the resolution, gives us direction to move forward with the financial analysis. That should take about 30 days, at which point we'll be back before you with the results of that analysis.
Thank you. I'm in.
Thank you. Trustee here?
Sure. I'll start out with positive comments first. I like all the retail that's in there. And if you would explain to the people that are in TV land what the concept of the theater is before I get to that question.
The concept of the theater is to bring in a combination of food and beverage, almost like a bar and grill concept as well. It's not only going to feature main, first run movies, but also independent films, and they also do a lot of events that they host that are, they think outside the box. And we're very pleased to have this theater joining us. It's the first one to be coming to the Chicagoland area. They've looked at a lot of sites. They understand what it is that we're trying to build here. They get it. They're on board, and they're very excited.
You didn't really answer the question. You did in a roundabout way, but in the area, what other theaters would mirror this concept?
Well, I guess there's one in Rosemont, Movie Co. That we can spot. Although Movie Co. I think is a little bit more focused on mainstream, and this theater does a combination of mainstream and also independent, and participates in a lot of film festivals as well. So. It's not just your typical stand-of-the-mill AMC theater. It goes a little bit beyond that.
I'm not completely against the theater concept, but I look at the property. This is the property that needs to be developed the correct way the first time. Because one of my concerns that I have, and I'll be point blank with you, is that this theater fails. And what you're doing with this theater is you're using them as your benchmark for all these so-called other retail that you say you have on board for us, which you have yet to name who's coming on board, which is another part of the question that I'll be asking you in a second. So that would be, my concern is that demographically, we've asked this question before and you claim it is, that it will support this concept here in Wheeling. I'll ask it again. Do you still feel, not just to get this project, that this movie theater, the way you've planned it at this point, will withstand or be demographically good for this community?
Yes, I think that this theater would be good. I think it'll be great for the community because it offers a unique movie-going experience that people will. You'll even get people from outside the community, I think, to come visit this establishment. And I think the idea is that we don't just want to draw on the nearby residents, but we want to make this somewhat of almost like a destination.
Well, we'd hope so. Where is this group located at?
They're based out of Texas.
Okay, and what's the name again for the record? The people out there can look online and see what this place is all about?
Yes, they can.
Go ahead.
I am going to hold off on disclosing the name because we're at a public board meeting right now, and at the request of the theater, they don't want any press releases going out without their consent.
Okay, so then obviously you won't tell us either who you have lined up for the retail spots, so you want us to vote blindly in regards to what you're telling us to be a factual truth?
Well, an LOI has been submitted to the village staff. They have reviewed it. It is fully executed.
Sometimes I just think that we might be best suited to go out and look again to see if we get somebody to come in and give us a different concept, because I do have that fear that this theater concept, and hopefully I'll be wrong, that it will fail and it won't bring in the numbers that you're looking for. And then this project will be set in motion and we'll have just blank or barren land out there or pads set ready to go. Because we've had similar things in the community where we thought things were going to go in those locations and it never materialized. And people stood in front of this board just like we are today and promised the world, and then nothing ever came. So you could see that some of us are a little skittish of that, because this is a big parcel of land in this town. If it's not done right, you're laughing all over the bank, and we're telling the community, whoa, sorry. So since you won't disclose anything, I'm done talking. Thanks.
Trustee Brady.
Thank you. If I remember correctly, last time you were here, pertaining to the theater, I was under the impression that it was a multi-use facility that could not only do what you're saying with the first run and movie festivals, but could also hold live entertainment, like maybe a movie companies, acting companies that could put on a play or something there, or some sort of a music fest, venue. We have several of them in the area. One's in the north side of Chicago, one's up north here. I don't remember the names, but I thought that would be a very good fit, because the movie business is good, but these movie theaters, some of them are going by the wayside, and I'd hate to see this happen here. If you had an opportunity, if you built this with a stage, it could handle whatever's the hottest issue at the time. Whether you have we have tons of good local bands that maybe you could set up something that they can come here and entertain, or a little theater group wants to get together and put on a play. We have the high school, but certainly, I know they have their theater in the high school, but there's all kinds of things that could go on in this theater that would benefit the use of it. I think it's a good anchor for this property. I think it would bring in a lot of retail that would not only fit this, but the fact that the activity there will bring in other than the little restaurants and that usually surround a theater. I think the theater's a good fit. Remember one of our mayors that we're going to be honoring soon. It was his life dream that we bring a theater into Wheeling, and he's still alive, so maybe it'll get done before he dies.
You're so cheerful.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes the truth is harsh, but now you got the residential right behind the theater, and I suppose it's good back there. You got it out of the way, but only thing I'm concerned of, I lived behind the theater when I was a little kid. They were noisy, the exhaust fans, condensers, everything that went on, and I'd just be a little concerned that all these apartment units that would be facing that theater are going to have to put up with a lot of noise of their mechanical equipment. Humming all day and night,
As the plan is right now, the back of the theater is actually up against a parking garage, and the residential units are pulled back.
How tall is the parking garage?
About 5 stories.
Oh, okay, so it is that tall.
Yeah.
All right, but that'd be fine.
So that kind of serves as a nice barrier to separate the back of the theater with the residential. So these residential units on the exterior all look out on Heritage Park, and the interior looks down upon a common area, Green Park amenity space.
Good. Related to on your 3D view of your main road coming in, where you have Village Green here, it doesn't appear that you have any road. Your plan is different from what you're showing us here.
Yes, that is correct. This is.
I like this here where you can drive through there with that park in the middle, like you have it there, but you're not showing the road going through.
That is correct. This is slightly outdated, and it does need to be updated. We made a change to the plan when we separated these components, and working with our architects in order to allow enough space for roadway and traffic. This is what we came up with. I think we'll be just fine without the roadway. Okay. I think the idea that these storefronts will face out onto the Village Greenway, and I think a lot of times people are looking for that pedestrian-friendly concept. I think it's still going to work. This was always just intended to be more along the lines of teaser parking anyways. A substantial amount of the parking is located in these quadrants here.
That's probably just as well, because you don't want to mix, if you get a park like that, you want to mix the pedestrians with the cars. So that probably work. And one last thing, what's going to replace our commuter parking lot? Are you giving us a piece of property to use back here?
Are you talking about for the Metro?
Yeah.
Yeah. This entire area along here is all going to be for Metro commuter parking. Also, I just want to point out one of the nice things about the synergy with the theater is that the times of the theater and the times of the Metro parking lot work extremely well together. Yeah. When people are parking to go use the train, they're not going to the movie theater and vice versa.
We have a system of charging the people. I don't think that would interfere after hours. I don't know how that would work.
That is a logistical aspect that we'll have to look into further.
Yeah. Other than that, there was one last thing, and I hope it's just the way the plan is drawn. You don't seem to have the entrance off of Dundee lined up as well as it is now with Northgate. It appears the road you got in front of the Burger King that goes out, you have further west. I know they don't line up exactly, but it seems very easy to cross over Dundee Road without jogging too far to the east. And I just want to make sure that we don't end up with a problem there, because we do want people to be able to go north or come south out of Northgate and pull right into it.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the existing? Yeah, this is the existing.
That is existing?
Yeah, and this was taken off of the survey. So okay. Our architects were using.
It does work. All right, good.
Right now, obviously, Northgate Parkway comes in here, but it goes up to the tracks.
Right.
So our intent is to curve it and create that perpendicular crossway point that serves as the main focus of utilizing the retail action and the presence to feed off of the Village Greenway.
Okay. Other than that, I think you have a winner if you can get that theater entertainment venue back in there, and I hope you can do it and do it swiftly, and let's get going. Thank you.
Trustee Hein.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the theater, okay? How many seats are we going to have in this theater?
The theater is going to be, I think, an 8-screen theater. Wayne, do you know the count off the top of your head in terms of number of seats? I don't have that at my fingertips. I apologize.
But it is 8 screens?
7 to 8 screens is what they proposed.
Okay.
Right here, the diagram that they provided us, it shows 8 screens.
Okay. Let's talk about the use of the theater other than a theater. Are we working with the Park District at all for any type of programs that they could do over there? Maybe something to do with fine arts and stuff like this, where they could be using some of the amenities over there at that theater?
I have read in past articles that the theater did make its space available to communities for certain events. We haven't explored that, and we haven't spoken with the Park District in any great detail about that, but ideally I think that would be wonderful from a programming standpoint if you can get the theater to work with the Park District and have programming that is suitable for family entertainment during the day, and more traditional adult nighttime theater entertainment in the evening. I think that would be ideal.
Maybe you want to keep in mind that one of the theaters, would be something where it could be very versatile, where we could use it for live performances also, and maybe like an orchestra or a symphony could perform there. I'm a little hesitant about putting that much into a anchor, and that's what we're calling this, an anchor. and a use that is not very well known in this area of having a combination restaurant, theater type thing. You made a point that this is not a first-run movie theater in competing with AMC and the rest of them. I'm hoping that we are going to not be one of these off-the-wall type theaters that we have throughout the Chicagoland area, and I want it to be something that the average resident in Wheeling can go to and enjoy. I'm very concerned about this building being a single-use building, and if something should happen where they are not successful, how are we going to market that building to whom to make it fly? It's 31,000 square feet, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
How many square feet of retail do we have total?
110,000 square feet.
I'm sorry?
110,000 square feet.
110,000 square feet of retail.
Yeah, so about 80,000 square feet in addition to the...
And how many units are we having in the residential?
About 300 units.
300 units. Okay. Are we allowing for any type of recreation for those 300 units that we're going to have in there, such as a swimming pool or a rec building or?
Absolutely. We are involved in a residential development project currently that is going to have state-of-the-art facilities with regards to the amenity package. There will be a swimming pool, there will be an exercise facility, a business center, a lounge, a lot of outdoor space, as you can see, that will be made available to the 300 tenants. When we do our residential projects, we feel that the amenity package is a very key, important aspect, and we put a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of research into how we design our amenities.
Okay.
If anything, our buildings are somewhat over-amenitized.
How do we get the people from this area into the Park District facilities without going back to Dundee Road?
It would be through Community Boulevard, right here.
Okay. The road that you're on right now, the one to the east of Northgate Parkway, yep, right there. Okay, this one right here. Coming off of Dundee Road, that's a one-way out?
Yes, currently it is, yes.
Okay, that will become a...
Well, it's private land, but we are going to be making a proposal to have this strip, which would be east of, which would be north of Community Boulevard. This is based on a traffic study that was done by KLOA. They suggested that we have a right turn in and allow traffic to then feed through these areas as well.
Would it be possible to put a ingress-egress to the Park District where the people live, instead of them having to go north, they can come back out again onto that road and go back in? If they could just come out to some type of road that goes into the CRC instead of going all the way back out?
We can certainly look into that.
Okay. Because what we're doing is we're taking the people that live there and we're forcing them to go back into the retail section, okay, to go back to a road to go into the Park District, okay?
So you're saying that
if they were right here and we had some type of a road going in here, we'd cut them from going all the way back into the retail area.
Okay. Are you saying you want connectivity between these residential units here and the aquatic center and the Park District facility here?
Correct.
Okay. The short answer is that I would see that as pedestrian friendly as a walkway as opposed to getting into your vehicle. But if someone did want it to get into their vehicle, I guess we could always explore that option.
Well, I think the people that are living here in this particular area are going to really take advantage of all the new stuff that's happening in the park with the shelter and the band and so on and so forth, and the amenities that are putting in there, and to have them go all the way back out north and come back in again. I don't see that. I mean, so maybe maybe you can work something out.
Okay, we've looked at Heritage Park, and I think that this parking facility here is just as close, if not closer, to some of the other parking facilities available in Heritage Park, but we'll certainly look into that and explore those options. We have met with the Park District a number of times, and one of our goals is to make sure that not only the retail center, but the residential aspect does have good connectivity to the Park District facility, the Aquatic Center, and of course Heritage Park. So that is a main concern of ours.
Okay. And are they going to be entering the theaters from the road that goes in front of the parking lot for the residential too? Are we going to have to make sure that we don't have people parking for the theater in the residential area?
The people who visit the theater will be parking in these surface lots here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could also park in these surface lots as well. And then the idea is that, you know, they then walk, you know, through the Village Greenway, and this is their main entrance into the theater.
Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions? Trustee Jers?
A couple of things real quick.
Sure.
Well, first of all, thanks. You didn't give up on this project. And I think a lot of people don't understand, you know, it's easy to say that get somebody else, get somebody else, get somebody else, but you know what? There isn't anybody else. So I personally appreciate you not giving up on this project. A couple things. If you looked at the possibility of a possible parking deck, instead of a sea of asphalt of parking, like you have for the theater and also for, you know, I understand Metro to the south, there could be possible parking for Metro, but to the north there, could there be a possible parking deck there for?
What we have looked into, and it was actually Andrew Jennings, who I don't think is with us tonight, but he suggested that we look into the split parking decks in Highland Park, which are very simple and very cost effective. And I think that was a wonderful idea that I have expressed with my architects. And the idea is that we can take certain portions where we deem it necessary to have double level parking at a very cost effective
and green friendly, because you know they show the landscaping on these things.
Yeah,
it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. We have looked into that, yes. Although I do want to say that right now our parking ratio is substantially high. As I had mentioned before, it's about 7 to 1, you know, for a spec retail project.
Age group that you're focusing on? I mean, your demographics, what are you looking at here?
You're talking about for the residential component, for the retail component?
The entertainment component, all the...
I mean, for the residential component, we're talking about, you know, young professionals to empty nesters. You know, as a part, with regards to the retail component, we really want to create a retail environment that is friendly for, you know, for the entire community. We're not targeting one specific demographic, excuse me, with regards to the retail component.
You know, Rosemont was mentioned earlier with the movie code concept that they have there, and now they have the courtyard concept with the restaurants, and this kind of looks like it a little bit, and I hope it becomes that, because, and we can't compare ourselves to Rosemont, and I understand that, but Rosemont's a different animal. You know, they have their convention and their hotels and MB Financial backing them and everything else, because their name's all over Rosemont there. But what they've done here, though, what we can do here is really draw from a captive audience of residents throughout all the communities here versus going to Rosemont, because Rosemont's hard to find. It's not an easy site to find. You can get lost in there and end up in a parking deck. It happened to me. So, but what I liked there was the center courtyard with the grass that you're showing here, which is their ice skating rink, and in the summer, their concerts in the park, which I think is a great concept with all the restaurants and the open air kind of restaurants and stuff like that. That will draw, I think, the folks that you're looking to draw here versus younger people trying to go to Rosemont. Let's have them come here. And I think, you know, I like the concept. I like the entertainment. It's not a massive thing of residential area there, because that's scary, because what do you got there? But I think if you do it right and get some good, smart entertainment in there and some good restaurant, perfect example. Look at the bowling alley they built in Rosemont, at where I'm talking about. It is the most unique, elegant, coolest thing I ever saw in my life, where they draw for private parties, they have their bars, their restaurant, private bowling alley for a private party. You know what I'm talking about? It is so neat. I thought, wow. You know, if you had a birthday party or a surprise party or something and you wanted a portion of the bowling alley that has their own separate bowling lanes, your own separate bar, your own restaurant there, and what a concept. I mean, different. So I think this is a kind of entertainment that's going to draw younger people. I mean, younger people, 40s, 50s, whatever, 60s. So, yeah, I believe you're on the right track. You got to have something that's unique, something that's different, that's going to draw people here, because the same old doesn't work. It gets old, it gets stale. You got to be fresh here. So, thanks.
Trustee Vogel.
Yeah, I just did one question. On the residential units, you mentioned, is this a condominium? Is this owner occupied?
No, these would be rentals.
They're all rental units?
Yes, we envision the west side of the tracks as being more of a condominium townhome ownership component to the master plan, and that's definitely a reflection of the times. But I also think it's a reflection of the idea that this is more of an urban concept, and the west side of the tracks could be somewhat more traditional suburban in nature.
Okay, thank you.
My only comment. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion?
So move. Second.
Motion made by Trustee Agiris, second by Trustee Lang. Roll call, please.
Just one second.
Okay, approving the concept plan submitted by Urban R2 LLC for Wicks redevelopment site in the town center tax increment financing district, so that everybody knows what we're voting on.
Okay. Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Agiris?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
No.
President Avascado?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 13B, ordinance granting variations from Title 21 signs of the Wheeling Municipal Code relating to an existing freestanding sign at 241 South Milwaukee Avenue, docket number 2012-10.
Mr. Janik.
The petitioner is here tonight from DiAgostino's Pizzeria, which hopefully is close to opening. They are here for approval of variations for a freestanding sign. As you know, they have two freestanding signs. One's electronic in front of the building, and then one is at the southwest property corner. And this petition is for variations relative to those freestanding signs.
Do we have any questions?
I do. Madam President.
You have a question?
Please. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Janik, can you explain the Plan Commission request here? Are the petitioner be requested to come back in 12 months with a revised landscaping plan for this freestanding sign?
There is a request for a variation from that landscaping as well. As you can see, and as you probably know, this sign that's been located in the parking lot for numerous years, there's no landscaping around it. They would have to tear up some asphalt. There's also plants directly south of the sign. To some extent, putting landscaping there would be a little bit problematic. But there is, the Planning Commission did request that they come back.
And are we requesting the petitioner to post a bond as well?
That is typically what happens when landscaping is not put in.
Well, I'd be totally against that. I'm sorry. I think that is ludicrous. I think the Plan Commission has gone way beyond the step here. And for something that's there, this is bad business. So I make a motion to approve it without the conditions of both. I think it's wrong, and I think the Plan Commission is really out of line here. That sign's been there, and I'm reading stuff in here. They asked the petitioner to go talk to people who own La Francais to clean up their bushes. I mean, where's this stuff coming from?
Well, it certainly would help a little bit for the bushes directly south of the sign to be trimmed.
And I understand. If that's an issue, that's a staff issue with code enforcement because it's not the property owner's problem. So, you know what? Again, I make a motion to approve, excluding the two conditions of a barn and coming back to the Plan Commission in 12 months to where the revised plan to put landscaping around that freestanding sign. I think it's wrong.
Second with a question.
And we have a second by Trustee Hein, but a question. with the second.
Thank you. We're going to be assured that those bushes are going to come down, is that correct?
No, the bushes, the plants directly south of the sign are on the property of La France, or the owners of the building just directly south of D'Agostino. So D'Agostino's management owners do not have the ability to go over there unless they have permission to cut those plants down.
Because not only you can't see the sign, it is a detriment when you're pulling out of there to see the traffic coming. You really got to come out and look a little bit to do that. So
Public
there's
Works,
no reason to have those bushes up there.
yeah, if they trim them, it'd be nice if they went and talked to the ownership. But the ownership probably wouldn't have a problem with it if you did trim those bushes. We should ask them. Public Works did trim the trees up along the roadway recently, so you can see the sign easier from the south.
Thank you.
And we have another question or statement, Trustee Lang.
I don't have a problem with foregoing the landscaping around that sign, but it is, Trustee Argyris, it is code. I mean, we ask everyone else to do it, so.
And that sign's been there for 40 years.
Yeah, and there's a new
sorry.
owner. And
You know
anytime
what?
we have a new owner, we try to improve the property.
Yeah.
So
Did you watch
it's-
that meeting, Trustee Lang? I was embarrassed to watch that meeting and what we put that petitioner through. It was terrible. It is an embarrassment to this community.
Nonetheless, it's still code.
Nonetheless, you know what? And we've done a lot more and been given more variances for a lot less. For a lot more, I should say, not less. So, anyway, my motion stands.
We have a motion by Trustee Agiris to the motion eliminating the bond and the 12 months coming back, second by Trustee Hein. Roll call, please.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Hein.
Yes.
Trustee Argyris.
Yes.
Trustee Lang.
Yes.
Trustee Vogel.
Yes.
Trustee Here.
Yes.
President Avascado.
Yes. And when are you going to open?
I think he's about a month away. I'm just the contractor, but I think he's about a month away. A little hard to
month
get
away.
decisions out of him. I want to tell the village, nothing to do with how you voted. As a contractor who builds restaurants, and that's all I build, I've never been in a town that's been so cooperative, ever.
Thank you.
I'm very happy with it.
Thank you. We
And so
appreciate
we
it.
understand that meeting that went on. He still intends to try to do some landscaping. He just wants to get open.
That's what he is.
Yeah, he does intend to do something there, no matter what happens.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Item 13C, resolution waiving competitive bidding and authorizing the village president to execute a contract between the Village of Wheeling and NCAP Incorporated for a 5-year annual maintenance and monitoring program of the Buffalo Creek Stream Bank.
Mr. Stavros?
Thank you, Madam President. This is a contract with NCAP, Inc. for the maintenance of the stream bank stabilization project that was done 3 years ago and completed a little over a year ago. And under that grant that we received from CMAP and from the Natural Resources, there is a wetland monitoring period. Actually, it's a 10-year period. So we bid it for 5, and then in 5 years we thought we would rebid it again. This is a continual monitoring program. It's a very time-consuming and intense program to where if you look at the original plan, let's say if there was 2,500 species of one plant, they actually go out and they count the plugs and they find out how many of those plants have survived. They take an inventory of those and what haven't survived. Then they have to send a report back to the Natural Resources, and of course then we have to replant. Then there's prescribed burns, and it's pretty self-explanatory in the report. There's a selective cutting of certain species, which you have to be a wetland specialist for this. It's not a certified arborist that does this work. We have nobody on staff that can handle this. And out of we contacted 5 specialists. 3 said they would accept the RFPs. They looked at them. I included it in the executive summary. And NCAP we have worked with before on the diversion channel. They are established firm, and they're good. They know what they're doing.
We have any questions, or do I have a motion? Question? Trustee Brady.
Tony, this is just for landscaping in this contract?
This is for everything. This is for the special plants that were put out there, the native species. And you want the native species to thrive because they're the ones that have the deep root. And what's happening is, well, actually, if you go out there now, you looked at this should have probably been done a little bit earlier in the spring. You get a lot of the weeds, the thistles, and it chokes out the native species. And that's not the idea of what has to be done there. We have to establish the growth of those native species out there that were prescribed by the NRCS and by the design engineers with CMAP. So not everything out there is hardscape, meaning gabions. Even on top of the gabions, there is plantings.
If there's any erosion or problems with the bank, other than the plants that are there, are they prepared? Is that included in here for them to repair that?
At a cost. There'll be there's plantings that have to be done. There's a cost for additional plantings, live plug installation. Flat of 38 is $185. There's some money written in there for that. Some of that work.
But the labor is covered.
Some of it is, yes. Not all of it.
And what about the day-to-day cleaning of the stream itself from the debris and the shopping carts or whatever you usually find in streams after a few years? Do they clean that out too as part of it?
They do some of it, and then we do walk the creek, our crews, and we do take all that stuff out as time allows. Right now, the creek is at a low stage, and I believe that we are probably scheduled to go back in there. But we want to get NCAP in there as soon as we can because we need to get some herbicides down, which we are, again, I don't know what they are. None of our arborists seem to know what they are either.
Well, it sounds like you've got everything covered. It has to be done with that, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, we had Burke do a complete walkthrough on it, and they were the ones that itemized and did the list for the RP to do the RFP. So all the firms that did send their proposals in walked it. They were aware of the work that had to be done. So there's a lot of work out there.
Thank you.
I'll second, but I have a question. Tony, would we be eligible for any grant assistance from either the state or the federal government in years to come?
Typically, no. These projects, once the grant money is distributed to construct, it's the responsibility of the municipality or the whatever agency it was that got the grant to maintain it. In fact, I just did an extensive presentation on that down south, and it is ours to maintain. I mean, certainly, that's not to say things won't change if money opens up.
Thank you.
So I had a motion by Trustee Brady, then seconded by Trustee Here, and we have roll call, please.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Argyris?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
Yes.
President Riscato?
Yes.
Item 13D, resolution authorizing the village president clerk to execute a temporary access and construction easement agreement with Wabash Power and Equipment Company related to the reconstruction of the Jeffrey Avenue Bridge. Mr. Janik.
This item relates to the closing of Jeffrey Avenue Bridge at some point in the future. There is only one way out of the subdivision, and currently we have a easement with Wabash Power to allow for garbage trucks to go back and forth through the easement because the bridge can't handle truck traffic. What this is at some point when the bridge is taken out and repaired, it's approximately a 6-month period, 7-month period, we need to have full access for the subdivision to go from the subdivision to public roadway. What we're requesting here tonight is language for a temporary easement that will be larger than the existing easement. We'll have to widen the roadway, put a different radius on the roadway to get to and from Carpenter Avenue. So what this is a request to approve the easement language so that we can then go to Wabash and get them to approve it as well.
If I can add to that, I'd just like to say that staff has been working with Wabash, and they have been more than cooperative in working with us in order to make this accommodation. Really, this is integral to the project, as Mark had said, as it really is the only other means of ingress and egress to the neighborhood. So I just wanted to acknowledge that Wabash has been working with us and given us their full cooperation.
Thank you. Trustee Vogel has a question.
Couple. The length of the easement, December 31st of 15. Well, when do they expect to start this? Do we have any idea?
I'd probably say a year from now. Tony?
I think it's scheduled for 2014.
Okay.
Construction.
All right. And how long is it going to take, do you figure?
We think it's 6 to 7 months.
7 months?
Right.
So right now, though, there is traffic coming through there?
The only traffic coming through there currently is the garbage trucks, the refuge trucks. We open there's a gate in the back, which we open, I believe it's on Tuesdays and Fridays, and we close it at 3:30.
All right. Is there any stop signs put up there for them to come out on they come out onto Meadowbrook, right?
There is do not enter signs off of Meadowbrook. I don't know if there's a stop sign for the garbage truck.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but we will be putting up signs.
Because it's not just garbage trucks coming out of there. I mean, I saw other vehicles coming out of there. I don't know what they're doing back there, but.
Well, if that gate does not get closed, we're in,
Well, it's pretty much wide open.
the back gate is closed. The garbage truck, when he goes through, he leaves it open for an hour to empty the garbage cans, and he goes back out.
Okay,
We
well,
do have,
they're not closing it then.
changed the gate out there with a slide gate that we received from the airport. And I worked out something with the airport, and we do now have the electric opener for it. It's just a matter of having it installed, and then they will have a button, which they will open, and then they will close it behind them.
So it's the garbage truck driver's responsibility to close it,
Not to lock it, we lock it.
but to close it.
At night, yes.
Okay, because they're not closing it. I mean, it's open.
No, there used to be 2 gates on that property. There's only 1 now.
Okay.
There was no reason to reinstall the front gate because it's all grass area. There's carriage lights there. It's no different than than at the east end down on Nancy.
Right.
It's an area where somebody wanted to have a picnic. They could have a picnic in there. It's public property. That property used to be gated off on both sides. There used to be a well house there. The only thing that's there now is a piece of telemetry equipment at the far southwest corner, which is on a little pole. So the rest of the property is all landscaped. I mean, other than not having a few picnic benches out there, that's about all that's missing out there for being a park, per se.
We'll talk to them about closing the gate.
All right, and once they do redo it, or it sounds like they're going to construct a temporary road, once all traffic, there will be traffic signs.
Well, it'll have to be two-way. We'll have to, stripe down the middle, or
et cetera. Okay.
I mean, it's not going to be perfect. I mean, it's not going to be like a regular road. I mean, we have to go through Wabash's property, and there's some things to solve there, but it'll be wider than it is now.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by trustee Agiris, second by trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Agiris?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Heer?
Yes.
President Evers-Scotto?
Yes.
Item 13E, ordinance approving an amendment to the aggregation program agreement.
Mr. Fondilis.
Thank you, Madam President. The item before you this evening is an amendment to the existing aggregation program, which is really just an extension of that program. When you signed the POGO, the Plan of Operations and Governance, several months ago, I believe in April, the residents who were signed up specifically for electric space heat were not included in the electric aggregation program because at the time ComEd's rate was lower than what Integris was able to offer, that 4.775 rate. The ICC through ComEd issues the new rates every year in June, which is why our contract with Integris is only for 1 year. And when they did that for 2012, the new prices from ComEd for electric space heat program users was more expensive substantially than what Integris was able to offer at the same rate, which is locked in at 4.775 cents per kilowatt hour. So now that Integris's price is substantially lower than what ComEd is charging, the consortium is coming back to each of the individual municipalities and asking to amend the contract in order to include electric space heat customers. Wheeling is, I believe, the highest or the second highest of the 7 municipalities as far as residents signed up for this program. We have nearly 3,000 residents signed up. The expectation based on last year's use is that those residents collectively will save, if this amendment goes through, anywhere between $750,000 and $1 million within the 1 year time span that this amendment would approve. So that's it in a nutshell. Other than that, the rest of the electric aggregation program remains untouched. All you're doing tonight is adding to the existing program electric space heat.
Do you have any questions or do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Trustee Lang, second by Trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Argyris?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Heer?
Yes.
President Evascado?
Yes.
Item 13F, discussion regarding the village newsletter advertisements.
Mr. Fondiles.
Thank you, Madam President. About 2 years ago, during our budget discussions, in an effort to look at all of the operating expenses that we have and see what we can do to make them more cost effective, I had mentioned to the board an idea of selling ad space inside of our Village Views newsletter. The plan was approved by the board and it was approved by the addition to the budget of, I believe it was $12,000 for an additional 2 pages that would be inserted into our Village Views in order to then sell that ad space. It's a great idea, if I do say so myself. But became very hard to administer because what we would have to do then is become marketers to sell this ad space. So the idea sat for a while. Recently, Director Huizar came to me with an idea from a company called Liturgical Publications, and as the name sounds, they normally do church bulletins and have in recent years expanded to municipal and social agencies to handle their newsletters. What they do is they handle all the administrative sides of selling the ad space inside your newsletter and basically give you your newsletter for free because all of the ads total more than the amount that it costs to publish the newsletter. When Sherry came to me originally, the idea was just to replace the way the Senior Center did their monthly newsletters. After further conversation with her, it sounded like a good idea to explore the option of bringing this to our Village Views newsletter, which is the example that is on the dais. We had Lisa Leontios, who handles all of the graphic design for our newsletter, recreate last month's newsletter for you because the only difference if we go with this program, and this is only up for discussion this evening, the only difference that a resident would see if we go forward is the paper quality is much more pedestrian than what we're normally using. Right now we have thick glossy paper, much more akin to a magazine. If we go with this idea, it would be much more your typical photocopy. It's a little bit heavier, but much more comparable to photocopy paper. It would still be printed completely in color. It would be very, very similar to the document that's in front of you. On the interior pages, and I'll hold this up so that the residents can see on camera, the interior pages would look like this. It would look a lot like a church bulletin does, with ads on both sides. If we did this, which is essentially 4 pages of ads, even though it's 1 page, split into 4 8.5 by 11 pages, this would offset entirely the cost of our newsletter. Currently, we budget $40,000 for the printing and mailing of our newsletter. Of that $40,000, $12,000 is actual delivery. It's the postage. So we would be saving $28,000 by going forward with this idea. Further, the company has a give back where there's a threshold that's created from the monies received, the revenue received from selling these ad placements, where once their quota is met, there's a percentage of revenue that's given back to the municipality. So in theory, there's an opportunity for us to actually make some money on providing our residents with their Village Views magazine. Some things that we've already considered, and obviously, again, this is just for discussion, so we would bring a contract back to you for approval. But some of the things that we considered are, well, okay, what kind of ads are going to be considered for this publication? And they are very willing to work with us on if we have a list of prohibited uses, much like we do already with PACE for our PACE bus shelters. They're more than happy to work with us on those restrictions. As it stands, it would be, I don't want to say local only, meaning only Village of Wheeling businesses, but they would be local to the area businesses. One thing that I liked hearing from them is they don't want any of the types of businesses that we would put on our prohibited list anyway, because those kinds of folks aren't looking for ad space in a local newsletter like this. So there wouldn't be movie advertisements, there wouldn't be alcohol advertisements. Those kind of companies aren't looking for this kind of ad space. This is really, as you see in this example, you know, painting and restoration, tow truck companies, restaurants, that kind of thing. So we would write into the contract all of the things that we would prohibit from being considered for publication. So, Sherry, did I miss anything? Otherwise, I think we can open it up for discussion and seek direction.
The only thing that I would add is that the company sets aside a specific amount of time, and when they are soliciting advertisers, they actually come into the village or the organization that they are soliciting these ads for and make those phone calls, not representing the organization, but giving it a local feel. They are looking for information from the organizations on who best to offer this opportunity. So they've asked us for several, names of different businesses and things like that as well. So that's about it, I think.
So in many ways, even the ads themselves can be considered a service. Now, I know nobody likes to look at ads, but it truly could be a directory of useful services for our residents. So with that,
Before Trustee Agiris and Trustee Hine, Trustee here will follow in suit. I just have a question. Was the statement that they're doing the bulletin or doing the newsletter for the senior center now?
There's been no contract. This was originally, we got this information and we're considering it to be done for the senior center, but then brought it to, obviously brought it to the village manager, and that's why it's grown into perhaps with the village newsletter as well.
Thank you.
Trustee Agiris.
John, I'll be honest with you, unless they promote and get ads from Wheeling-owned businesses, not surrounding area, I'd be totally opposed to this. Because I'll tell you something right now, if they're going to have businesses here from Buffalo Grove, Arlington Heights, competing with pizza places that are in Wheeling or auto repair shops that are in Wheeling, I think we're going to get more heat on that. They need to focus on Wheeling-owned businesses. There are enough restaurants, auto repair, gas stations, stores, hotels in this town that can support this thing. And if they can't, then you know what? Leave it.
I think we could certainly work with them on that. I don't know that they would be able to guarantee that, because I don't know that there's any way that they could guarantee that, which means and I don't mean to negotiate against ourselves here, but I think this is obvious enough, that if they weren't able to fill the ad spaces with Village of Wheeling businesses, that we would have to pay that extra, because we're not paying for the newsletter. But I think that's something that we can work with them on.
Well, like I said, you know what? If we're paying half of what we're paying, we're ahead.
I agree with that.
If we save $10,000, we're ahead. But we need to have a philosophy here that we're supporting only Wheeling businesses and not supporting other businesses, because I'm telling you that's going to turn around and backfire.
Trustee Hein.
Thank you. Are we going to, we're still going to be responsible for the articles that go in here as far as the information relative to the village?
It will be exactly the same as it has always been. So yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. And you're going to have a deadline on that too, tied into this? In other words, they're going to give you a deadline when all your stuff's got to be to them to be printed,
yes,
so on and so forth. Okay. Don't forget that we have a number of people in the industrial park, other than they're not listed as being retail people, but they're doing retail businesses in our industrial parks. So make sure that we do call on them too. We can fill up this paper, no problem. Let's work with our own people. Thank you.
Well, I have found, and then Trustee here, I have found that when you are solicited for an ad of this ads of this type, they won't be going all the time. It's just you sign up for the whole year, and it's $1,000 some odd for, I forget what size ad.
Yeah.
That's about what it runs.
You're right.
Trustee here.
Thank you. I too would like to see only Wheeling businesses in this newsletter. I know the concept sounds great, but when you actually start seeing all this advertisement coming at you, the thing that we have to be conscious of as well is that the village isn't endorsing any of these businesses. And I think once they come across or call them up, hi, I'm calling on behalf of Space in the Village newsletter. I'm from Wheeling. People are going to think, oh, the Village of Wheeling endorses these businesses, and we can't have that. But the other thing too, I know you have the list of prohibited uses. Would that also include, like, if, let's say, a person running for trustee or village government wants to put an ad in here, they could put one in there?
Can I speak to that, Madam President?
Yes.
That's an issue that I wanted to touch base on. When we do come up with regulations, if we're able to work the local angle only, it will be commercial speech only.
Very good. Thank you.
Political ads cannot be allowed. They will run afoul of election laws. And I would advise that any issue-based organizations are not allowed to advertise, for example, Save the Whales, because once you start to open up, create a public forum like this, and you allow issue-based speech under the First Amendment, you're going to have a real hard time saying no to anybody.
That's right.
So it would be commercial-based with restrictions within the commercial sector.
Now, again, if one company, again, we'll just use one, a local bank or whatever comes in and says, I want to buy a whole page, they could do that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Brady.
Thank you. It says here that it costs us $25,940 a year to print our newsletter. If we were to take and go to lithograph type printing and use the cheaper paper, what would it cost us? How much would we save?
If all you change is the paper?
And the way it's printed, right. We use digital printing. They're going to use the old lithograph way.
It would be nominal. We've looked in, there is certainly a cost for the glossy paper, but that was a decision made by the board years ago. We can simply look at downgrading the quality if that's what the board's after.
First of all, this is a nice contract for somebody that they can't lose. If they don't go out and sell anything, we got to pay them all the money. They have that plateau that they're expected to reach, and if they don't get there because the sales or the ad sales aren't there, we have to cover them.
Well, I don't quite know that that's
I'm wondering if that's,
I don't quite know that that's the way it works. The plateau is there for, they're only going to make X amount of profit before they start returning that money back to the village.
Somebody mentioned that if they, I don't know if it was Sherry, whoever, if they don't sell enough ads that we cover the difference.
I would imagine, I said that, I would imagine that would be the case. They, in discussions with them, that is never, they've never not been able to fill their ad space. The only reason I brought that up is if we put a restriction on them for the Village of Wheeling specifically, that if our businesses don't want to participate, then, you know, how do they control it?
Well, I don't know.
Well, we can work that into contract language as well.
You know, it's nice, and I'm all for the ads, but I'm just wondering, you know, this isn't something that we can't do. Excuse me one minute. Okay.
If I may, I can answer that. We cannot administer a program like this. This is more than a full-time job to have someone calling every business in town soliciting for ad space.
But they're going to come in here, and we got to comprise the list for them to call.
Well, no, the company would be doing the calling.
The company's coming in here to get the list from us, who to call. That's what I heard. Logistically, they're coming in here, and we're going to give them the list. So
correct.
I don't know. It just seems. I suppose if we were doing the printing ourselves or anything else, it would be one story. But we're sending it out for printing. We compromise all the information in here ourselves, the stories and the information that's going out to the residents, and we print it on a nice piece of paper. Now we're going to print it on less expensive paper, the old-fashioned way, and we don't know what any savings would be on it. And I'd like to know what the difference is on the high-gloss paper, the high-quality paper that we use with the digital printing versus ordinary paper.
I can get you that information.
You know, before I'd say yes or no to this, and to know exactly where that point is, that if they don't sell 2.5 pages of advertisements, how much are we paying them?
I could find that out. That's new information brought up this evening, so I can get back to the board and let you know what that would be.
Madam President, one more.
No, I just had clarification on one thing that was mentioned here. John, it says here the village would receive 30% of any ad profits received over $34,300 annually. So they have to meet that profit plateau, and anything over that dollar amount we get 30% of?
Correct.
Oh, so Ken's right.
I mean, we don't have
to, on this thing. We're betting here that they're going to make more than $34,000 a year, and then anything after that, we're going to get 30% of the difference.
If you're looking for a return, yes. The idea here isn't to make money. The idea is that we're saving our operating budget, the $28,000 that we're currently paying, to have this printed. We still have to mail it out, but that's the idea. They have never, according to the company, they have never run into a situation where they've left blank squares where they didn't make their money back from selling.
But honestly, though, they would have to generate over $100,000 in profit for us to be even on our cost expenditure every year. If we're getting 30%.
I'm not following, I'm sorry.
Last call.
Yeah, that's what
Think about it.
Last call.
It's 30% of the profit, anything over $34,000 that they generate.
Can I clarify
profit.
something?
Go ahead. Am I wrong here?
We went out for bids with the bulletin, and we went and looked at 5 different companies. Every company tells us when you sign the contract, it costs you nothing. Okay? And if we reach our goal of, in this case, $34,000, we'll rebate to you the 30% over that. But if they only do $20,000, we owe nothing. If they can only sell $20,000 worth of ad copy, we owe nothing. And that's the way, and Liturgical Press was one of the
And that is the way I understand the contract. The caveat and why I brought up that we would have to reimburse is if we say it's only the Village of Wheeling, I don't know that they can guarantee that. Therefore, there may be a buy-in.
Our contract, and I'm not letting Nate go any secrets, covered all of Cook County. We could tell them the types of businesses that we did not want to advertise, but we could not tell them the location. We could not stop them from going to Buffalo Grove, Palatine, Arlington Heights, Lake Forest, wherever. So.
But again, I'm not clear on this, John. You still didn't answer me here. It's 30% of anything over $34,000 that they earn.
But that is only if they're going to return money to us. As Trustee Vogel said.
But Trustee Vogel's right. It's a win-win for them.
It's a win-win for the village.
They're not paying for anything.
If we remove the local jurisdiction only restriction, if we remove the local jurisdiction only restriction, so let's talk about it in a bubble here. As presented, the village wouldn't pay anything. As Trustee Vogel said, yes, there is a cap, but that cap is to return money. It's their incentive, because you're right. If that incentive wasn't there, why would they bother? If they didn't know that they were on the hook, if they didn't make those phone calls and sell that ad space, but that is the way it stands.
But the way I'm looking at it, John, I'm sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, please. Maybe I'm reading this thing wrong. We make no money unless they sell more than $34,000 in ads.
That's correct, but we also don't spend the $28,000 from our operating budget.
But they're going to pay that plus?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clear here, because the way I'm reading this thing here, it wasn't clear. The $25,009, they're guaranteeing they're paying.
The village pays nothing but postage.
And we're getting an additional 30% over $34,000.
Yes, sir.
We just pay,
that's what I wanted to
pay
clear.
postage.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? I think they'll do fine in the village. I think there's enough businesses to support that.
The newsletter comes out every quarter?
Every 2 months.
Every 2 months, 6 times a year.
Okay.
Madam President?
Fine.
Yes.
One last question, and maybe this has been addressed already. We're promoting businesses in town, and obviously the Chamber of Commerce. Why don't we work with them and have them come up with a list? Can they do it? I don't know, Dean. You look at me like, okay, I don't know. But they would be the first people I would go to. Is it feasible? I don't know.
We could certainly work with them.
They're always asking with their hands out, hey, help us, help us, help us, or help us financially as well as what a better way? Talk to Kathy about this and see if she can come up with a list that can fill a page or two of people, and then that way the village is...
She's got the list.
I'd be more than happy to do that.
Oh, he got the list.
Thanks.
I know.
There's only 100 on that list.
So I guess at this point, all I'm asking for is direction to move forward to try to put together a contract that we can bring back to the board for approval. So if you like the idea, we didn't want to expend the time with liturgical publications if the board didn't see this as a good idea.
So move.
We're not voting, we're just,
I know.
yes, we're kind of,
yes.
I want them.
Well, there's two parts of it, though. Are we going to stay within Wheeling, which I would like as well, or are you going to do the demographics of surrounding communities?
well, right now we have to get the contract to find out where we're
Well,
at.
that's what I'm saying. So if he's going to go out and look for that, he can steer them in that direction of what we want instead of coming back and saying, well, they said they can give us a
Right.
contract.
Would the board be amenable to an 80-20, like only 20% from outside of town, or are we talking 100%? Because there may be businesses that you're not creating competition. 100% Wheeling?
I would go there. You can always come back and amend it. The thing.
Yeah, it's our village
Okay.
newsletter. I mean, it's like...
Okay.
Everybody,
That's just
So
me,
is
I'm just one
everybody in
vote.
favor of
Wheeling only?
researching it and Wheeling only?
Yes.
What if we don't have a business in Wheeling for some specific thing? And somebody wants to come in from Arlington Heights and advertise their business, which is the only one in the area.
Well, they're not doing it now, so what's the difference? They're doing it elsewhere, aren't they?
What if we have somebody that has a business in Wheeling and also has a business in Mundelein or so wherever, and they say, we'd like to advertise the Mundelein location too?
Well, Wapagettis would do that. He's going to
Yeah.
put both locations on there, but he's a Wheeling-based business.
I like to say.
John, come
We're
back
going
with
to allow
two
them to put the
proposals.
Mundelein address in there.
Why wouldn't you? He's in
Okay,
Wheeling.
okay.
Find out the difference
Make
in the
sure.
cost of printing.
Yeah, two proposals, and then that way we'd find out exactly what we need to know.
So is there an agreement to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank you.
We have official communications. Trustee Agiris has the Collins Foundation Wings of Freedom event, July 27th to July 30th.
What?
This may be a surprise to you.
Is it the
Director
airport?
Rouleau had asked that you talk about the Collins Foundation Wings of Freedom event.
Is that a,
Are you kidding me?
He was supposed to
We got it
email
right
you
here.
something.
didn't he call you?
Not at all. Sorry, Madam President.
That's all right, not at all. Not a problem.
We'll bring it to the next meeting.
Wow, Dean's speechless.
Good for you.
No, I'm amazed.
Cop,
Good.
caught on tape.
Touche.
Does anybody else have anything for official communications?
I have a question.
I just have one item.
I just got a question. I know you had talked, John, about having a workshop with the PC. Is that going to happen in the next month or so?
Trying to put it together for August, yes, sir.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Talked about it several times, Trustee Adjuris. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm still waiting.
And Trustee Hein?
Thank you. I just want to remind the residents that there are 2 charging stations over at the metro station for charging up your electric vehicle, and that if you need to use them, they are working, I believe. And
Yes,
they're all ready to go, so just drive up and park it and charge it and get on the train. Thank you.
And Trustee Vogel?
Real quick, do we have a vehicle for the residents to call, or a person that they can call when they turn on these fine meetings? And I know they're all interested in hearing what we have to say, and they have no sound. I know it's not our fault all the time. Should they be calling Comcast directly?
I was actually going to ask the president if I could add that, because I got a number of texts during this meeting.
Yeah.
It seems to be a Comcast issue dependent on neighborhood. So Luca has been notifying Comcast and working with them to figure out exactly what the problem is. It is not a Village of Wheeling equipment issue. All of our playbacks are working fine, except for those neighborhoods that seem to be having some kind of transmission issue. So he is working with both AT&T to make sure it doesn't happen with them, and Comcast as well. To answer your question, sending an email through our village website is probably the easiest, because it goes straight to the help desk, and we can send it around from there.
So they shouldn't call Comcast direct?
It can't hurt. It can't hurt to call Comcast.
Because sometimes they fix it right over the phone.
Sure, it can't hurt.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Board will go into executive session tonight to discuss pending, probable, or imminent litigation and semi-annual review of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Adjuris, second by Trustee Here. Roll call, please.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Adjuris?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
Yes.
President Evans-Cotta?
Yes. Board will go into executive session at 8:07 and return at 8:15.